This summer, one girl, one demigod, and one chicken must embark on a journey across the ocean to...
Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me!
That's right, we're talking Moana.
This is it.
This is it.
This is it. This is it.
Is there something you want to hear?
So, May is Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, and we're doing this, I guess. Don't worry, I have other movies that I'll be talking about over on my Twitch this week that actually get far more into the culture. There'll be a link in the description about my Twitch. But yeah, Moana. I know this movie doesn't embrace the culture fully like other fantastic movies out there. Looking at you, Coco. But I mean, it goes without saying that this is definitely a step in the right direction for Disney. I know someone's gonna call me out and say, well, Coco is Disney, but I mean, they're different studios, so I'm not counting it that way. Moana is also one of Disney's best works over the last decade, and I think it's a really good movie. Sure, it has a really bare-bones plot and doesn't tackle the cultural elements enough, but it's a solid movie that applies to an incredibly broad audience, and that's okay. I do like that there is at least some elements of Polynesian culture embraced in this film, but if you really strip away the first 20 minutes of lore and island life, it's really just a generic hero film, and that's pretty sad. I know there's also a lot of controversy regarding some things in this movie, especially the appearance of Maui being portrayed as large or even fat, and that's a shame as for some of us, this will be the only version of Maui that we ever get to experience. I do think that by today's standards, comparing him to someone like strongman Eddie Hall is a fair comparison film-wise, but the Maui of lore is tall, skinny, and muscular. I even understand that the visionaries Ron Clements and John Musker, who directed this film, drew inspiration from Dwayne Johnson's grandfather for the design choices, and that's cool, but it does distort the lore of the culture. I mean, I do really want to get out there and say that I love this movie, especially coming out of Disney Studios. The atmosphere of the film is inviting, the overall aesthetic of this world feels really real to me too. It's warm and inviting, terrifying and filled with adventure, and it feels like there truly is no end to this world and how vast it can be. The characters overall really work, you know, I think that there's some that have some flaws, but I think they're great. And I mean, the grandma character herself is really great, even though I still to this day don't understand why people think she's crazy. Is it because she's still obsessed with the lore and culture? I really haven't figured that one out. Let me know if you know. And even Moana as a character really works for me. Her motivations feel real, and even her parents telling her to avoid the ocean feels genuine, like that's actually based in something. This is also a unique story element that blends in with actual Polynesian culture. There's a moment in Polynesian culture called the Long Pause, which is a gap of over 1,000 years where there was no sailing. And even if this isn't the actual reason for that, no one knows why, but even if this isn't the actual reason, at least it blends into the story elements well and the culture. Also, I mean, this movie has some bangers for tracks, and the storytelling that goes into that music is wonderful and kind of an homage to early Disney. I do definitely think there's some weaker tracks, and one of my all-time favorite tracks, Away Away, I think needs a little bit more love in the actual language, and had we gotten some translations rather than the English singing for it, I think that would have been great. And yeah, even though the story's bare bones, I definitely think it works for this film, and the imagery as well. I always get chills during Moana's walk towards Te Kā, and it even feels like, you know, a ripoff in some way, but I really like those Mad Max Kakamura coconut people. Like, yeah, they're not great, but I think they're more fun than Minions. Yeah, this movie has a lot of flaws. I do wish that Disney would actually dedicate themselves to a culture rather than trying to appeal to the largest audience possible and playing it safe. It's also noticeable in this film especially that some things are made there simply for merchandising schemes. Pua the pig is only in the movie for less than a minute, and yeah, I'll admit, it's a really cute pig, but this is only to sell plush toys and I refuse to believe otherwise. I will say that Disney is definitely taking strides to do better, but they fail to commit and it's an absolute shame. As far as Moana goes, this movie is nearly flawless, but only in regards to the film aspect and not the culture aspect. From what my research can show, Polynesian cultures are a little bit mixed on the overall cultural elements of this movie, but it was received as a general good. If anything, it certainly helped shed a light on an otherwise not well-known lifestyle in our world, and that's really cool to me, but it could have certainly been done with more authenticity and less product peddling. Moana truly does have a special place in my heart. It's one of my favorite Disney films, and honestly, it deserves to be put on a pedestal for embracing more culture than previous films have ever even approached. However, I really do hope that Disney will push themselves in the future and just go for it. Most of us are going to watch Disney movies no matter what they put out. Anyway, that's Moana.